Welcome to another episode of The Second Coming. I'm your host, Jason Keaton, and Brother T is in the house. Good to see you.
I am indeed.
Yeah. Great seeing you. I feel your energy from here. Yeah.
Oh, brother. I am glad to be back with you, Mr. Keaton. I appreciate you, bro, so much. Man, I've been on the road. I just got back into my home base just 2 days ago, actually. So it's been kind of a whirlwind. I was out in Virginia for a little over a week. And I think I'm going to stay home for a while, maybe stick around for the holidays. I do have possibly a little trip coming up, maybe in Florida in November, but that's not yet firmed up. So for the next few weeks, for sure, Jason, I'm going to be hunkered down right here, man. And I'm really looking forward to getting some more content out for our community. But here we are, another episode of The Second Coming. I'm just glad to be with you this morning, Jason.
Oh, yeah. And I love your energy. I love connecting with you. It feels like it's been a minute, and when I don't hear your message, hear your voice, I start craving it. So that's a good thing. But Brother,
well, I'm honored. I'm truly honored.
Yeah, Brother T. You want to start with a deep breath, or you want me to pose a question first?
Yeah, let's. I'll tell you what. Let's just take a good deep breath right now. Let's center, connect with Spirit, just feel the love. So we invite in a host of angels, guides, loved ones, master teachers. We are so blessed to be in this consciousness of the upper room here at the True Thoughts Second Coming episode. Is always informative for me personally. I love the downloads that come through from the questions. I'm always excited to engage in this conversation with my beloved brother, Jason Keaton. So we're going to say all glory to God, and we're ready to rock and roll. Hallelujah. It will be so.
Absolutely. Well, Brother T, I had a kind of exciting week. I got to be interviewed on a podcast by Gabe Beaver. He does the Bridge podcast, Spiritual Bridge podcast on Spotify. And he's in a younger group, 20s, early 20s. He's 22 years old. And it was really interesting. And he posed some questions that I'm going to let you field because the younger generation, and you've spoke about this, the awakening of the planet and the vibrations, even this younger generation is really waking up into the spiritual world, and they're really in touch with spirituality. And a question that was posed to me was, how does a person, and it doesn't matter what your age, that's starting on this spiritual path, accept the presence and the being as is when maybe they don't have the physical possessions or the monetary possessions of their friends that have went full-fledged into a great college career and starting out at $70,000 a year, and they feel like they're trying to do the right thing in God's eyes and be present in being a good person and on the spiritual path, and they're working for $12 or $15 an hour. How does someone that's accept what they are yet still strive for, maybe they don't strive, but I'll let you pose, because it was a question I could not answer.
So when you say strive, are you saying they're striving for more God? Or are you saying they're just striving to exist?
I would say the striving is ego-based in comparison to peers, whatever age you are, material possessions. How do they get their ego consciousness to be? And what does a spiritual path look like for someone?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, let's just start with some basic information that we understand. I am I'm going to say maybe a generation older than you, Jason. I'm part of the baby boomer generation. And I'm going to apologize for my voice. I have a little bit of a little congestion a little bit this morning in my throat. So anyway, I'm just going to push through it. Being part of the baby boomer generation, these are some statistics of some economic facts that, I became aware of over the last few months. And I've been working as well with some young people. I say young, in their 20s and 30s. I love the curiosity. I love the energy. I love the conversation around God, around spirituality. And of course, all of the conditioning that's gone on for them in their life, and certainly for me, for mine. And the contrast that I've discovered as well. But economically, I hate to say it, but I hate to think about it really, because I shouldn't say the word hate. It's not a good word to use. It's a little disquieting to come to the realization that my grandchildren who are in their 20s only have about 10% of the purchasing power that I had when I was their age. Now think about that. The American dollar has lost 90% of its value. So they have 10% of the purchasing power. Now they're working, but I was already in my 30s, early 30s, making $15 an hour and feeling like I was, living well, because I was. That's basically $30,000 a year. And in my early 30s, late 20s, $30,000 a year was good money, right? But today it's barely outside the poverty level. So I'm just sharing some economic facts of reality that we're living with today, that our grandchildren, my grandchildren, men and women in their 20s and 30s are dealing with today, that things were a whole lot different. We could rent an apartment for $300. Today, it's like $3,000 or certainly $2,000, depending on where you're at, for a one-bedroom apartment in some places. So when we look at those economic facts, it's disquieting. And first and foremost, it's because of the way our economic system's structured. We can get into some economic conversation, and it's not the intent of our conversation here this morning, but I want to circle back to the spiritual side of it, because spirituality doesn't change. So Jesus says it this way in some of his teachings through Rajpur, when he was channeling through Paul Tuttle. He said, the world as we know it, the thought system of the egoic construct, which is a thought system of fear and guilt, but the experience of form under this default operating system of ego is a game of chance. It's just a game of chance. And it's just a game, okay? So first and foremost, we know that it's a game of separation. In other words, we set the intention. What would it be like to pretend to be God? And in that game, that illusory, dream that we share together, and Adam and Eve are a metaphor for that. What would it be like if we could give everything all the meaning that it has? And what would it be like if we were separate from each other rather than together as one? And so this illusory construct has been called by Jesus in A Course in Miracles as a tiny mad idea. But here's the deal. Once you're in it, you're in it. It's kind of like if you've ever seen the movie Jumanji, they kept dying, but when they die, they would drop right back into the game, right? They couldn't get out of the game until they solved the riddle of the game. And so that's kind of what we're really experiencing. It's a good metaphor for what we're experiencing. Here in the world of form, when we incarnate in form, we're in a dimensional experience, a construct of mind in which it's just a game, right? It's a game of separation. And the rules of the game of separation is that the ego is not really creating anything, it's making things. And so we can play this game and we come into this game, but the ego is only an aspect that we see as ourselves when we're in the game. Our soul is actually what's reincarnating. And our soul is growing and learning and maturing through the experiences of the ego mind. So it's a little confusing, and I'm sharing a lot here with you, but I hope it's not too confusing. But just imagine Your soul is incarnating in form, and its objective is to begin to express in form as itself. In other words, the default operating system of the ego, which is the construct of that we come in as kind of like an artificial intelligence. But it's so compelling that when we come into this incarnation, at least for me, for the first 40 years of my life, I didn't even know that my soul existed. I didn't even know that it was that was the real me. I didn't know that I was playing a game of separation and then I'm playing a game of chance. So flip the coin, right? Flip the coin. In this game, this illusory construct of the world, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But the lessons are continuous, and our soul is what is growing and maturing. Eventually, as we evolve consciously, as we begin to understand our true self, our true nature, what God has created us to be, Jason, then we begin to let go of playing the game, and eventually we become more present in the present moment. Instead of thinking and listening to that thinking mind, we become more quiet, we become more peaceful. And we allow our soul then to become what we express and let it express through us and through our mind. So the ego kind of, if you will, begins to move into the background. And we've heard that expression, get thee behind me, right? So the ego kind of moves into the background of the mind, and the heart and mind become one. That's called wholeheartedness. And as the heart and mind join, then the ego, goes in the background, and the soul begins to be what we're expressing as. So I'm sharing a lot of information, and I repeat this a lot because I think it's worth looking at over and over so we begin to grasp it. But what I want to say to anyone in their 20s and 30s is chill out, right? It's a game. And so sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, right? You can go to Vegas and play the slots, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And when it happens that you really win, or you win big, all of a sudden, unexpectedly, you play the lottery, you win the lottery, whatever, it's like, wow, but it can be just as much of a pain as it is a blessing, depending on your consciousness. All I want to say is that all of those things are fun, and they're very distracting from the present moment. But in the present moment, when we begin to realize how powerful our soul is, and we give it awareness of our mind, I simply start by taking a good deep breath and turning within and asking myself, are you there? And I'm saying, asking myself, capital S, self, are you there? And of course, the answer is always, of course, I'm here. And that is my soul. And it took me decades to do that. And it's taken lifetimes, possibly, for all of us. But I will say something that's really important that's happening is that our consciousness, the global world, human consciousness here on Gaia, is evolving. And it's evolving to a point now where the veil is lifting and we're receiving more and more information from beyond the veil. And that information is helping us to learn more about our true purpose, to learn more about, why we came to begin with. And it's also helping us to practice and to stay present more consistently, ultimately to allow our soul then to be the guide. And the soul doesn't really care much about it. It doesn't care about what you're doing in the game of chance. It doesn't care how often you roll the dice and what you win or lose. It's only interested in growing to the point where you will let it listen, you will allow yourself to listen to your soul and let it become your guide, because it always knows what's best for you and for everyone in your life. So if we'll allow our soul to be our guide in our daily decisions, then we aren't making decisions anymore. We're allowing a higher power, which is our soul, become the decision maker. And life begins to get very easy because we're not always grasping and clinging at winning the game, and we can begin to relax. And so this practice of just being aware, just being present to this present moment is so powerful. And I know most of the people in our audience here at True Thought are, a little beyond maybe 20 or 30. But the point I want to make is it's taken me decades to just learn these simple things. And that's allowed me to change the construct of my entire life. And once I allowed my soul to begin to drive the bus, so to speak, my whole life began to change, Jason. And now I'm more at peace. I'm much more enjoyable to be around. I have more fun. I'm laughing all the time. I see all blessings everywhere. And this is the beginning of the second coming, which is the return to the original intent for this planet was to be heaven on earth. That is to express love, to be more God in form.
Absolutely.
What's your thoughts from that short dissertation there?
Absolutely, absolutely, Brother T. And a couple things that really touched base and really made me think is, when you quit grasping, right? Amazon Prime, right? I mean, how many things can you grasp there? Is it ever going to fill your soul? No.
Right.
That's the one thing. When you can quit grasping, like you said, and be present and allow the soul to drive, that's where you are. You bliss. It changes. Your whole thought changes. Everything changes, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful thing.
So it begins with your belief system. So when you change your belief system from fear and blame and guilt to setting those thoughts aside and just saying, hey, I'm not going to think about that kind of stuff. I'm going to be present. Are you there? I'm just going to be in this moment. I'm just being present to what is right now, allowing and accepting what is right now. Then I can find bliss in my life, no matter what happens in the external life. The internal self is totally blissed out, happy, joyful, and most importantly, what everybody believes they want to achieve is at peace. To be at peace throughout your day, regardless of what's going on in your life economically, is a huge win. I mean, it's a seriously huge win because you can be at peace and other people around you are going to bless you because the world reflects your thinking. The world reflects your belief system. The world reflects your thoughts. And so if you're having thoughts of love, allowance, forgiveness, and acceptance, what do you think your world is reflecting back to you?
Right.
It's loving you. It's allowing you to be who you want to be. It's forgiving you for your mistakes. And it's totally accepting you as God's perfect child. The world reflects back the energy that we hold in our heart and mind.
Absolutely. And that's beautifully, beautifully said. It's like the energy you put out, the energy you create, that's going to be your world. That's what you experience. I love that, Brother T. I love that, Brother T.
One of the most important things that I learned early was in my spiritual journey was that thoughts are things. And I'm in dominion of my thoughts. And I didn't believe it at first. I thought my mind was just running and then, I was just trying to catch it. But now I understand that I can intentionally maintain thoughts of love, allowance, forgiveness. And the result of that, the effect of holding this consciousness, this field of energy called love, is the world reflects back that energy to you.
Absolutely. And just one last point that you brought up, we talked about winning and losing, and I just want to clarify that you're never losing because you have less than your neighbor. I mean, you're winning when you allow God into your life. And this younger generation, I feel, is winning more than any other generation because, as you said, the veil is lifting and they're experiencing it and they're seeing it at much younger ages. I have daughters that are, my youngest daughter is still a teenager, and they're talking about spirituality and breath work and things like that, where I was 40 some years old seeking and not knowing and so this veil that's lifting, it's going to be a planet transformation that I hope my physical self here is around to see more of it. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, that's called the second coming. I mean, it's happening. It's actually happening. And just imagine now, every time we transition and then reincarnate, we don't start over. We start where we left off consciously. And we evolve consciously to the higher levels of consciousness. And so when we return here, we're right back where we started. And we also are setting up our our parentage, if you will, the platform we spring from at birth to support that level of consciousness. So we don't go backwards and we don't start over. Every incarnation is an evolution of consciousness. We continue to grow. And so I will tell you that's been shared by, there are many voices that are communicating to us now. But one of them, and I'll just leave that anonymous for now, has shared that even the DNA of those who are coming back in at this level of incarnation at this time, their level of consciousness and even their DNA is a little different from mine, as an example. 5 generations later, so 4 generations later. So the ego's construct is seek but do not find. Don't give it too much concern. It's a game of chance. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. So what? There's no real loss. There's impossible to have loss in God because God is love. There's no, all that really, the most important thing that's going on here, Jason, is relationships. Everything is about relationships, not form itself, not quantity or lack. It's am I in relationship with in the world? Am I being at a level and operating at a level of consciousness to attract into my life higher and higher vibrational beings, entities, brothers and sisters, animals, plants, you name it? Am I bringing that energy of love into my own experience? Because the ego's construct is seek but do not find, but the construct of love is all is already given. You already have all that is. You have been given the power of God to create love in this world of form. Not you, the ego, but you, the soul. So let your soul shine through and your life will be blessed indeed.
Thank you, Brother T. A beautiful message this week. I thank you, Brother T. I thank all of our viewers for being here with us. A powerful message, a message that needs to be heard. This message of presence and love in God. Thank you, Brother T. For all of you.
Absolutely. I would like to, Jason, I just want to pause for just a moment and just let's take a good deep breath here. I just want to say thank you, Mother, Father, God. Thank you for making the means to know this truth available to us in all that are on the planet today. The information's available through the internet. The information's available through relationships. The seeking of the truth is becoming preeminent in the mind of humanity. And we are growing indeed. I just, again, want to say thank you, Mother, Father, God, for the blessings of this truth that has come to us at this time. And let the power of God continue to manifest on our beautiful planet Gaia. It will be so. Behold, we make all things new. And so it is.
So it is. Beautiful.
So it is.
A beautiful ending. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Brother T.
Thank you, my brother Jason. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation. And I'll see you out there in the internet world soon.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week on A Second Coming.